Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gaming, get nerdy, and get nurtured. Woohoo!
All right.
Yep.
I'm Alyssa, aka the IRL support main and the creator of Nurtured Nerds. I am a relatively new gamer nerd, a relatively new cuddle therapy practitioner.
And I'm Mary. I am a cuddle party facilitator and a cuddlist, professional cuddler in my spare time when I'm not at my day job. And it's just fun to talk about this stuff. So that's why I love being here with the Nurture Nerds doing this podcast.
Same here.
Yeah. Let's see. On today's episode, we're going to do something a little different. We have several guests with us today. We're going to do a panel discussion about creating your own reality. And we've got some gamer nerds. We have a happiness expert and a professional cuddler. And we're going to talk about how do you create your own world beyond video games? Create your own reality.
Create your own world IRL.
Yeah, IRL, exactly. Yeah.
And we'll share some stories, talk about nerdiness and cuddliness, and let you know what's going on in our community right now. Remind you about the raffle. We got just about 6 days left to get in on that. And that's to win our Nurtured Nerds care package. We'll tell you more about that later. And first, it's time for tea.
Tea.
Yep.
What tea have you got today, Alyssa?
Today I have this thing called mud water. Sounds really gross. Crystal knows what I'm talking about.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
The main ingredient is a masala chai blend. So that has black tea, ginger, cardamom, cloves, nutmeg, and black pepper. And then also has cacao, lion's mane, cordyceps, shaga, reishi, cinnamon, turmeric, and Himalayan salt. And it's really good. It's a coffee alternative, or that's like how it's marketed. I didn't drink coffee regularly anyway, but I wanted like a morning routine drink that was yummy and like just fast and easy to make, and I really like it.
Nice.
Yeah, what are you drinking?
So today I'm back to one of my old favorites. It's this immune support yogi tea. It smells like peppermint. That's one of the biggest ingredients in it. It's got a bunch of herbal things in it that just smells so good. It kind of wakes me up and just makes me smile to smell it. So yeah, we've kind of been through my tea repertoire, so I'm going to be doing repeats here. But
yeah, well, how do we want to do this? Let's
see. Who else is drinking?
So our main topic is creating your own reality. We have our three panelists, Oberon, Bruce, and Crystal. Are you drinking anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, what are you guys drinking? Crystal, do you have mud water today?
So I do love mud water, but today I am drinking a blend that I kind of create myself from Four Sigmatic. So I have a couple different blends from them, and then I cheat and put a little Starbucks coffee in there, and then some almond milk. So it's like this giant, amazing.
It's a monstrosity that's so beautiful.
Wow.
Definitely.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm just drinking water today, but lately I did try some apple cinnamon tea with honey in it. And that was really good. That might be my new favorite right now.
Apple cinnamon tea is so yummy. And it's like really light, you know?
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Oberon. Bruce, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking water from the second purest municipal water source in the United States, which is Portland, Oregon. And I want to see if anybody knows what is the first purest municipal water source.
Haven't heard.
No idea. But I'm guessing you know, so please.
Yeah. It's New York City.
That was my guess. Dang it, and I didn't guess.
That's great. They've got to, they really have to take care of the water with so much population there, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then there's this untrue, or maybe it used to be true, stereotype that the water is bad in New York, or at least I've heard that.
Maybe from the river. Yeah, you don't want to drink out of the river.
No, you don't even want to get yourself wet with that river water.
No, not at all.
No.
Well, let's have our guests introduce themselves a little bit and just, tell us a little of your background and where you're coming from. Oberon?
Hey, yeah, so I'm Oberon. I am I guess a long time kind of like cuddle attendee. Started out with cuddle parties. Just been like off and on to events throughout the years. Keep coming back to it because it's so nice and fulfilling and everything. Um, and I am an avid gamer. I've been playing games my whole life. NES up through like I have my Switch and my PC in the other room that I play a ton of. Lots of Nintendo PC games. And I actually make games as well as my day job and also in my own time. Can't seem to stop doing it. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Great. Thanks. Should we hear from Bruce next?
Let's see. I am Bruce Cantwell. I am from patreon.com/IHateHappiness, where we are a community exploring the habits of lasting well-being, which include realizing our potential, learning to cope with stress, working productively and fruitfully, and contributing to our communities. And let's see, in relationship to this cuddle community, I was one of Crystal's first crash test dummies when she was training with Samantha Hess in Portland. We both survived it, although it was touch and go there for a while. And I frequently am seen at various events as Samantha Hess's sidekick, as co-host, etc. And we've been working together in various capacities for about 5 years now. So.
Great. Thanks. Crystal, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure, I would love to. I of course, first want to say it's so nice to see you, Bruce, and I'm so grateful that you're here. I have such wonderful memories of the training, and it really meant a lot to me. It was such a really beautiful, amazing, crazy experience. So thank you for that. I'm Crystal from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've been cuddling for, I want to say, almost 3 years now. And I've been working with certified cuddlers, again, under Samantha Hess and Cuddle Sanctuary. And I actually just completed their one-on-one. I'm still kind of working towards that certification. I am also working on a cuddleist and some facilitation certifications. And I am super excited to be a part of Nurtured Nerds. It's been nothing but a blessing for me to like feel a part of it and feel like I can really own my nerdiness. I love video games. I've collected Nintendo since I was a baby. I've been kind of one of those Nintendo like dorks where it was like only Nintendo. Like I didn't even rock any of the other systems. And so I collected most of those and I'm still gaming. I still play Zelda. I wouldn't say I'm as hardcore or awesome as a lot of gamers I meet, but I still think I've got the skills when it comes to Zelda and RPGs and like kid games. But yeah, I'm so grateful to be here and thank you so much for having me today, guys.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks all of you guys.
So
Yeah, I've missed seeing you guys. It's been a while for me.
yeah, it has. We had you on, what was that, the second or third episode?
Something like that. I think it might have been like
early
5 or
on.
6. Yeah, a lot of them back then.
Oh, Gita is telling us it was the 6th episode.
What? It felt way earlier
I
than
know.
that. Okay.
It felt earlier than that.
You know what? I think it's because we did them so
Close
fast in
together.
the beginning, and then we
Yeah.
like started doing every other week.
Yeah, and we're just such old hands at it now in our 10th episode that all of that seems so long ago.
Back
Yeah,
in my
kudos,
day.
guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been great fun. But the topic we wanted to explore today is creating your own reality. How do we create our own life? And, how does that parallel with like the realities we visit in gaming worlds that we create there? And how can we use some of those skills to create in real life, right?
Yeah, and namely around self-care, nurturing and finding your own, nurturing yourself, finding your own happiness. Yeah, it's just because you can create, the thing is like you can create your own reality and make it worse than it needs to be, but you could also make it better than it would otherwise be without any intentionality.
Yeah, I always like to say, like, you are the architect of your own life, and whatever is in your life, you have control over that. I mean, You can say whether it's going to be there or not, and there will be consequences to your choices, but you are in control and you do have choices.
Something that's been mind-blowing for me to just think about and be with is this idea that consciousness shapes reality. There's like the double slit experiment and things like that, where like literally observing something changes the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I was told recently that I really liked was my awareness heals. So whenever I'm feeling pain or something coming up in me, it's like just being aware of it is part of shaping it and transforming it.
Yeah.
And like things that aren't in your consciousness and your awareness, they literally aren't a part of your reality that you're able to actually influence in an intentional way. So it's just it's a really interesting topic. So I'm glad. I think, did Gita pick this one? I really like it.
Yeah, Gita picked this one, I think.
Yeah.
So, yep. Gita's our producer, and he is amazing behind the scenes.
Yes, Ghost in the Armory.
Yeah.
So this is a question for everybody. Create your own reality. Like, what does that sentence invoke for you, or evoke? Words are complicated. But you know, what do you imagine? What comes up for you? What do you feel, or how do you feel when you hear that? And does it feel like it's a concept that makes sense, or something that is kind of like more of a fictional reality concept? Like, what are your thoughts and feelings about it? Oh, also wanted to mention Matrix and Aladdin. Gita put those in there. Aladdin, I hadn't actually considered it that way, but this concept of like a genie and wishes, like, and also the Matrix is a more classic example of like thinking of reality in this way.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few thoughts that come to mind with this topic. Like, I mean, when you're playing a game, the rules of the system kind of dictate like what you're allowed to do. But reality is so much more complicated than that. Like, there's infinite choices and infinite options for what to do, down to just like the subtleties of your body language or your tone of voice or something that can like influence the outcome of something, you know? And plus, like, everyone else is a player too in this like life game, and they're making their own choices too. And so, you know, we could try to create a certain reality or an outcome for ourselves, but if that's not something that the other people are interested in, or you know, also want for themselves, like, we don't control that, you know. And so there's just like so many variables compared to playing like a video game, that I think and it's the longest game ever too, right? It's an entire lifetime. And so it's easy to get overwhelmed, or to forget like what's possible, or to fall into like a routine. And that's what I think makes it so hard compared to just like playing a game for an hour or something.
Yeah, those are some really good points.
Yeah. Crystal, did you have some thoughts?
So I have tons of thoughts. I'm so grateful again that we're looking at this topic. I think one thing that came to mind as you're mentioning The Matrix is that was one of the first movies that really inspired a lot of deeper thoughts in my head, and thoughts about reality, thoughts about quantum physics, thoughts about changing awareness, changing your reality. And I noticed that in my lifetime, I've used video games and really good movies like superhero movies or sci-fi movies, dystopian movies. I've used those often as an escape. And I've called them even my security blanket, my ability to kind of go off and not think about anything. But they've also inspired me. You know, the cinematography and I can't say it right, and directors have really given a lot of almost neuroscientific brain training to me to kind of make me feel empowered throughout my life. And it's only been more solidified in the self-care habits I learned in cuddling, and the mindfulness habits I learned in martial arts, and just the continual growth throughout my life being a mom and whatnot. And I think creating your own reality is a lifelong journey. I think it can be so beautiful, and it involves so many moving pieces. And I think that what I've learned most is that there's no shame in what you consider an escape for a minute, or what you consider an inspiration. Again, video gaming included, empowerment tools of any kind, even poetry, even, you know, even things that people might deem not so wonderful. So even napping can be a good thing in moderation, if that makes sense.
What are you talking about? Napping is amazing.
I think so too.
I love
All
napping.
the time.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think we all have the power to create our own reality, and even just little ways, like sitting outside on the porch to do a podcast as opposed to maybe sitting inside, getting that fresh air and whatnot. But I could talk for days. So thank you.
Yeah, I think what you're pointing
Crystal.
to is like the agency that we have to choose what we value and the way that we engage with it. So you're choosing, you're like, I value nature, I value outside, fresh air. So that's something I'm going to give to myself more. And so then that ties in self-value, self-worth.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Bruce, do you have thoughts?
Yes, there's some thoughts are arising as I'm listening here. One of the things you mentioned earlier was having a substitute coffee as part of a morning routine. And I think the morning routines are crucial in creating our reality. One of the games I play every morning as part of my morning routine is called Reframing Things That Don't Go Our Way. That game.
That sounds like a good one.
Yeah, it was originally called Finding Silver Linings, but that title made me gag. So I came up with, I reframed the title with something I could live with. But the way you play this game is you look at 5 things that are going at least well in your life right now. You acknowledge, well, I have a place to live. I have food, I have water, anything like that, anything that occurs to you in the moment. You start with listing 5 positive things. Then you take the most recent thing that didn't go your way. And I think that's the most fun thing, to go with the most recent thing, because that will give you a wide variety of things to play with. And one of the examples they give is, I missed the bus on the way to work, and then you reframe it in 3 ways. Like, even though I missed the bus, I got some exercise running to try and catch it. And I'm fortunate to live in a place where there is public transportation at all, and there'll be another bus around in a few minutes. And the third one is like, 10 years from now, I am not even going to remember that I missed the bus this morning. So it's different ways to reframe all of these little things that go on in your life. And by doing that, you actually can play the game with your perception on how you choose to store the memory of that thing that went wrong, and turn it into a slightly positive event, and think of how fortunate you are and put it in context. So that's a little game I play in the morning.
I like it.
So important.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of something that I was thinking of just yesterday. I was watching this video about like clearing energetic blockages from your being. And it reminded me of something that I'd actually read, I think maybe in The Body Keeps the Score, but just that like when something triggers, like the term is called, in the video I was watching, was called a program or a pattern. Like that's another way to frame it. But like when your patterns, your behavior, your behavioral, like the ones that were created out of trauma, when your pattern is triggered, it releases the same hormones, the same chemicals into your body that were there during the formation of that pattern, the trauma, whatever. So like how that ties in with what you just said, is that like when you reframe it, you're triggering different parts of your brain and different chemicals are being released. And it's like literally your being changes, your energy changes based on how you're choosing to perceive your experience right now and your circumstances. It's like that's another way that you're shaping your reality, or that's like what it made me think of.
Yeah, I mean, that totally leads into our next question. Like, what do you think is the psychological and the neuroscience role of creating our reality, and how can we alter like how we perceive it and how we reconstruct it, or how we're affected by it? Yeah, how do we train our brain to get? I mean, when we receive a stimulus, we have a response, right? An emotional response. And our feelings are our feelings. We just feel that way. But there are a few I should have prepared this because I had some really good notes from a lecture I had once that talked about like, here's the stimulus response and here's the reaction. And it's based on like your past trauma, your past training, and you can have some influence over those things, not right in that moment, but
But
if
over
you
time, yeah.
over
through
time,
neuroplasticity, yeah.
Yeah, I need to find those notes of like, how do you change your responses if that's what you want to do? I think it's possible, but it takes a lot of work and it's hard. What do you guys think?
I was going to state that I once had a therapist mention to me, it's kind of like you wear a path down as you react to things in your brain. So your brain kind of is like a forest.
The formation of neural pathways.
Yeah, those easy paths. Yeah.
And it's easy. It's easy to keep walking down those paths. They're the easiest ones to follow, and it takes real time and real effort and work. And I know that for me personally, I think, and based on some of the articles and things that I've read, again, I think there is a lot of mindfulness that can be present to help slow reaction times and to help assist in kind of taking down that emotional regulation. And again, knowing yourself, I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've personally thought about in my lifetime. And then also I've noticed, and this was something I was grateful for Bruce's share, is that waking up with an exercise of gratitude every day and trying to like think about things that were going well, which sometimes can be hard. I think that there were little tactics that I noticed would help me. And I think every individual is different, but I think you can find things in your life, habits to create that can just empower you slightly. I know that flossing during the pandemic was my habit that I gained. And I used to tell myself, this is great. I got this great habit. Like, I learned something. So I think that's what I kind of think from that.
That's cool. Yeah, I was
like one thing I wanted to mention really quick, because I think it's a good documentary for thinking in this way, is What the Bleep Do We Know Anyway? I think the word anyways in there. But like this totally gets into this if anybody listening like wants more to engage with around this. What were you gonna say, Mary?
I was gonna say I was just remembering an incident on Wednesday afternoon. They called me in to lead the meditation in my work meditation group because the leader had to leave. But anyway, I led a meditation group for a 15-minute meditation, and one of the ones that I like that I don't do often enough is just like we do a body check, and settle down and relax, and then I just talk about like whatever you've got coming up, it's easy. You have a meeting for work, it's going to be so easy. You're making dinner, you've already decided what you want, you're going to eat good food. It's easy. It's just so easy.
Manifesting
everything from today on and to the end of the week is going to be easy. And you'll be amazed how easy it is. And, I'm doing this, and I do believe in meditation, but to me, it's kind of a 50-50 thing. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll just lead this thing and hopefully they get something out of it. But then I had to go into the office after that and do a chore that I hate doing, which is cataloging all these checks that we get. And every time I have to do it, I'm just like, oh, I hate doing this. It's so stupid. But that afternoon it was like, oh no, this was a lot easier for me. And I'm like, oh man, it actually worked. I didn't even like try to make it work.
Yeah, because
you don't even have to believe it worked. Yeah, exactly.
Mary, I think that's a great point. Language really does help shape our reality, and it really can change a lot. It's a great habit to get into changing your language. I think that's a great starting point. That's really awesome.
Yeah, because when I keep telling myself that it's hard, it will be,
Definitely.
Yeah.
And something I wanted to say about meditation, so I don't know if we'll move on from that or not, but just we're so busy nowadays. And I feel like a lot of where that feeling of life being hard comes from is that our consciousness doesn't ever get time to process what's happening to us. And that's really why meditation is so important. It just gives your consciousness time to process what's going on with you and for you to be aware of what's there. So that's what I've gotten out of it anyway. That's what's been like really beneficial for me in building that habit of meditation.
Yeah, meditation's been good for me too. When I get in the habit of doing it, like, yeah, it teaches you how to learn like how your body reacts to things and maybe slow down that reaction. And like the like kind of mental image that works for me is like sitting at the side of a river and like watching the water go by And that's
Mhm.
sort of like your stream of consciousness, or like your emotions and stuff. Like if you can like
Literal
get out of the
stream.
water, yeah, right, and like just sort
Yeah.
of watch it and like notice
Mm.
things, like it kind of detaches you from it a little bit, and you can be like, oh, it comes from over here, it goes over here, like, you know, I can understand it more. And if I have this desire to like take myself in this direction or set a goal or something, it's like, you know, now I know that like, okay, I have to like turn this direction a little bit and like start making some changes and stuff. Whereas if you don't think about it, or if you don't like know how to notice it, you'll just kind of keep doing things the same way and maybe get led along to places that you didn't intend to go.
Right.
You mentioned a
So-
really crucial distinction too, which is that you get to step into this observer role. So like all these
Mhm.
things going on in your mind, like you can
Yeah.
be like, oh, that's not me. That's literally like my body or my brain, like just the electrical signals flowing the way that they were shaped by my behavior. But like you get to just sit above, kind of above it, or with all these parts of you that are working, and there's like not that attachment there of like, oh, I have to fight for this part to stay alive because I'm just the observer. I'm not
Yeah.
the one being observed, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like there's a little bit of that level of Crystal's like smiling, and I'm really curious what's on your mind right now.
So I was, well, while I was smiling, I was smiling at my two beautiful children who happened to be
Okay, I
painting on
wasn't
the
sure
porch.
if
But
that was what it was.
I was also smiling because I agree with so much of what you're saying. And I found that I was thinking not only about mindfulness and meditation, but how it can be so difficult to step into. And a lot of people struggle with, you know, how to start meditation, or how to complete it, or how to keep going with it. And I know I've been on that end. And I found that mindfulness and meditation, there's so many cheat codes. Like, and again, I like to use gamer language. I really adhere to that a lot. There's so many ways that you can take a walk and be mindful just by not talking on the phone that whole time, or you know, use a guided meditation, which I do all the time, almost every day, or even find ways to sneak it in on a daily routine. And so I very much adhere to what you're saying, and really was grateful for some of the shares. Even Mary saying that, you know, meditation doesn't always work, or you're, you know, struggling with it. I think what's beautiful about that is that there's no one size fits all, and everybody's going to find some different cool tactics, you know.
Yeah.
And it might not even be the same day to day, or even within like the same day at just different points of the day. Because
Exactly.
your energy
Definitely.
profile, basically, or your imprint, I see it as like a fingerprint that's like constantly evolving. It's like your energy state will be different. So the way that you engage with yourself and connect with yourself will look different.
Mm-hmm.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. And Bruce, you have a bit of a neuroscience background, is that right? Do you have a neuroscience take on it?
Yes, I'm officially an amateur neuroscientist.
Nice.
But one of the games I play with my brain when I'm in a situation with new people is I did this when we had a training where everybody from a bunch of people from Cuddle Sanctuary came up to Portland to do one-on-one training. And so they had to deal with, I'm meeting this stranger for the first time in an interview. I said, I'm gonna have a contract that I'm gonna sign with you. And I let them read my contract. And it was, may we be well, happy, and peaceful. May we be safe. May our efforts to reduce suffering always meet with success. May we have patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome the inevitable difficulties, problems, and failures in life. And may we also always do so with mindfulness, wisdom, compassion, forgiveness, and care. So
That's a contract I would not hesitate to sign.
I know, it just puts people at ease. And when you're walking down the street, you can wish that for any stranger that you see walking in your direction. And it just transforms your relationship. So from a neuroscience background, that actually makes you feel comfortable being around the people that you're around.
I feel calmer after you said it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Got little tingles.
I think just manifesting things, you know, by saying it, even if we know it's an assumption between us and it's always been there, just saying it again just helps so much.
Words
Or
can really be like
yeah,
magic spells. Like they have
totally.
power. Yeah.
Yeah, words totally have power. Yeah, I was in a session with somebody, and she was using my name. She just said, "Mary, how do you feel? And I want you to know you need to be comfortable with me, and you can ask for whatever you want." And I'm like, "Well, I knew that. That's what we were doing." But just having her say it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's real. It's true. It's out there. It's the spell out." Yeah,
Yeah. Language can be
definitely.
so important in
Hmm.
one-on-one sessions and group workshops.
Yeah,
Shaping
yeah.
your reality, shaping your experience together, co-creating it with language.
Hmm. Yeah.
So how do each of you guys, each of you women, men, non-binary, sorry, how do you all feel? How do you each feel about, and what do you think about relating this to video games? Building your character, leveling up, writing the story as you go, like all these ways you can tie in video games and their progression and the way we engage with them.
I think it's good practice, honestly, when you tighten down your world to a very specific set of parameters with whatever game you're playing. But within that game, you make choices, you build things up, you level yourself up, you get the one thing you need to get the other thing, and that's life, you have to build up your character to be able to do what you want to do. And I'm seeing that more in my life actually as I'm heading for early retirement here. And I'm just like, if I hadn't made the choices I had made for the 25 years up till now, I wouldn't be in a house. I wouldn't have this option to do an early retirement. I wouldn't, it's all built on years of leveling up my own in real life character, and doing it in video games kind of shows you the simplified version of what you can do to make that happen. I think it's good practice.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
found it so useful to think of, like, whenever I'm trying to build a habit or do something different, like that my choices, my actions, behaviors, they literally change the stats of my character. That's how I change my stats.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think something that I've noticed like with games or with stories and stuff is like it's the things that we like about them are kind of like microcosms of things that are in reality or things that we wish we could experience,
Yeah.
or something that like teaches us something about the real world. And I think there's something in
Yes.
us that kind of connects to those things. And so like playing a simulation game like The Sims or something, right? It's like I'm living in a house, I'm going to work, I'm coming back, I'm making friends. It's like that's the exact kind of stuff that you can do in real life. And I think that we're just so used to the real life version, and it's so like it's more complicated and all that stuff. And so it's like easy to kind of get used to it. But I think that seeing it in its simplified form and kind of feeling some of those same feelings and rewards of like, I talked to someone, they became my friend, they came over to my house, we're having a good time together. Like, it's nice to see it in like a microcosm and practice it. And then you can sometimes take some of those lessons into real life, and like let it inspire you to chase those same things in real life, even though it takes longer or it's not as like instant gratification, if you
Right.
can get on the process, at least on the path.
What you just said totally reminded me of the 80-20 principle too. Because it's like The Sims is like exactly like that, where it like takes all of the extraneous 80% of complicatedness and it boils it down to the 20% that's more the simplified way of socializing.
Mhm.
And then that 20% actually produces 80% of the results, like in real life.
Yeah.
Like though that 20% of those aspects of social behavior and interaction, like that is what leads to 80% of, or like that's a way that you can think about it, in terms of like how simulations can be useful, because they can't account for everything, but they can account for most things.
Right.
I really like that. I was thinking about an article that I read years ago in Psychology Today, and I've always loved video games. And this, the lady that wrote the article had a brain injury, and she kind of started looking at the world through the lens of a video game and the idea of the microcosm and the idea of one-ups being self-care. So the example would be in a Mario game, the mushroom or the coins. That could be a song that you play that makes you happy. Little things. And she used a very great metaphor throughout the entire article, just kind of describing how she was able to heal from some brain trauma, looking at life in terms of video games, building up her character. And I think touching on what both Mary and Oberon have said, leveling up and kind of boiling down day-to-day activities, but also I always look at it in terms of shadow work. So like you're facing demons, you're fighting demons, you're empowering yourself, you're really believing in yourself. And, although we don't have, Ganon coming out our front door, we do have characters in our life, including ourselves, that kind of self-sabotage or fight us in some way or another. And so that kind of mental battle, I like to think about. And I really do think that video games can empower you to be a superhero in your own life. Especially when you realize that teamwork is really important. Looking at creating your own reality, it takes a community. It takes people in your life to kind of create a connective type of reality. So I like everything you guys said, and I really do feel that video games help me do that.
Yeah.
And I liked what you said about like leveling up, because it literally, like, taking care of yourself makes you bigger and more able to take on bigger enemies, or you know what I mean? Like how Mario gets bigger when he eats the mushroom.
Yeah,
I agree.
What are you saying, Oberon?
I was gonna say one of my favorite games, that what Crystal was saying made me think of one of my favorite games ever is Persona 4 Golden. It's a really long RPG, but it has these like psychology themes that I feel like are so like spot on with how our brains really work sometimes. Like there's like this fantastical element of they go into this TV world and then they're met with like their other self, and it's all the stuff that they've been repressing. They literally call it like their shadow, and they have to confront their shadow. And at first they're like, no, you're not me. Like, this isn't me. You're saying all these terrible things. Like, I would never say that. And the shadow kind of feeds on it and like, oh, we're different people. I get to be my own identity. And it like kind of becomes like this big monster that you have to then like fight and battle, right? And the other characters are there to like rescue them and like support them and be like, you have to accept it. Like, this is part of you, And once they do, then the shadow is like, yes, I am part of you. We are part of the same person. And it becomes their persona, which is like their mask that they use to like face adversity. And they become like part of the team and can go and like help other people and like deal with their like real life troubles and stuff. And like, it is such a cool game, and the way that they turn that into like a fantasy adventure is just so cool. I love Persona 4.
Have to play it.
Yeah, I
it's
just looked it
amazing.
up now. I want to check it out. That's
Persona
really
4?
awesome.
Yeah, and it's very much like grounded in like, I think it's like Jungian psychology. I'm not actually sure how to say that, but it like takes that like that stuff and like makes a game out of it and shows kind of like real life applications. It's very cool.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Bruce, like what's your take on this?
Well, I like the game, the leveling up part of the game, because one of my favorite habit trainings is the tiny habits. This is a guy named BJ Fogg from Stanford. And he says, what you do is you take the ABCs of it. The A is an anchor, which is something that you're already doing in your life. B is the new behavior that you want to try, but really, really, really tiny. And C is the celebration, which is the you score and you find a way to celebrate it. Yay! Something personal for you that creates that little hit of dopamine that you have in a video game when you score. And that's the way that you remember to do it. You're not trying to perfect everything at once. What you're trying to do is form the neural pathway that is rewarded so that you'll remember to do it. And Crystal, you were mentioning the habit of flossing your teeth. Like what he recommends is like after I brush my teeth, I will floss between two teeth, and that is it. That's the whole behavior, and then I will celebrate. And after a while, you get into the habit and you form the new grooves of the pathway, and then you start to level up and do more of it automatically. But there's no effort involved. You just find that you're actually doing the behavior.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
And you're rewarded for it. So yeah, you
gotta build the reward.
Definitely. That celebration's important.
Definitely. It's like the Arby's commercial. I did the laundry. I deserve a reward.
Yeah.
I do. Seriously.
Yeah.
I always like that. Do you think that helping yourself with self-care is a form of creating your own reality? I mean, when you create your own world of like, I actually have a story about this. This is how I got into cuddling, because I went to a cuddle party and I loved it. And I'm like, I need to create this for myself because the people around me were not creating enough of it for what I wanted. And I was like, I need to make this happen myself. And I actually did go to be a facilitator and create a cuddle community here. And I wouldn't have met Oberon if I hadn't done that. I wouldn't have met all of you probably. Well, definitely I wouldn't have met any of you if I hadn't done that. So I'm creating my own like reality of the people I want to have in my world of so, and it's a form of self-care, right? And I think that also relates back to video games of like, you need time to recharge in the game, right? You've got to let it, and if nothing else, you've got to let your laptop battery charge up, right?
Mhm.
What do you guys think about self-care as part of creating your own reality? Let's start with Bruce now. You're so quiet, Bruce. We have to keep asking you because we're all so loud. We're all like out there.
Yeah, I was telling Crystal's partner Jason that I wasn't worried about not coming up with anything to say because Crystal was going to be here.
Yeah. We all know how to talk.
Yeah, exactly. What was the question again?
Sorry, I wasn't very clear with the question.
How self-care forms your reality? Yeah, actually,
part of forming your own reality. Yeah, how do you make that part of how is it part of it?
I meditate twice a day, like clockwork. I do, mindfulness meditation, just letting the thoughts come and go. And I will say that the way that has actually shaped my reality is during this year of panic and everybody adjusting to COVID and real fear and imagined fear in different ways. I have consistently been the calmest person in the room. And
Great.
just actually being that calm person affects the way that the people around you behave. Because, if they realize that they're, we react off of each other, and if there's only panic around, we're all going to feed off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So just doing the daily practice, doing the homework, doing the reframing has had a huge impact on all of my interactions, which, filter out into the way that other people react after we've engaged with each other.
Definitely. Thanks. Love that. Crystal, do you have thoughts on that?
Definitely. I want to say thank you, Bruce. That 100% reminded me of how I notice in myself, if I'm not doing those self-care tactics, how my emotional regulation kind of deflates, or maybe I, snap at my kids or my partner more, or maybe I just get more frustrated and struggle. And especially during the pandemic, I've noticed that self-care became such a big tool for me to get through it at all. And then just in general, when it comes to changing your brain, and when it comes to finding your tribe, and when it comes to creating your reality, I really feel that self-care, self-gratitude, and just gratitude in general were such big tools for me, and can be such big empowering tools for anyone. Finding your tribe, to touch on what you said, Mary, again, community is so important. To realize that being a complete weirdo is totally okay. It's okay for me to be a nerd about psychology, about cuddling, about Care Bears, about whatever I'm into, and to find people that are actually like, hey, no, that's cool. I'm into that too. Like, let's talk about that. That moved mountains for me, being someone that has always been a little different, or a little unique, or maybe, not always fit in. So I love what you guys are saying. And I feel so strongly that in order to create your own reality, in order to find yourself, in order to love yourself, your community and your tribe is so key. Self-gratitude and self-care is so key. And letting go of shame and guilt, and letting go of fear. And those aren't easy tasks. You almost need a community to start doing that.
Yes.
So I love
something we didn't mention that was actually in this question, and I thank you, Gita, for including this, that you just made me think of, Crystal, is like negotiation, boundaries, like that's a really important part of shaping your reality. So it's like that, and like seeking out these people that you can connect with about the things that matter to you, like both of those feed into each other. and build on each other.
Boundaries are so key. I'm so grateful you mentioned that. And that's really like, I'd love to say that's the most important, but then sometimes I think self-care is the most important. So they're both really amazing and important.
Well, boundaries are self-care. Like really,
Definitely.
I think, well, communicating them anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
Definitely.
you can have them for yourself too. But it's just like, I noticed too, even like I can come up with a boundary, but like, even if it's just something that only I need to know, like just saying it out loud or declaring it somewhere makes it more powerful than if I just am thinking it.
Agreed.
Well, it could be a boundary just for yourself. Like Bruce said,
Yeah.
he has a twice a day meditation practice, and he knows that when he does that, he feels better, right, Bruce? So your boundary is like, that is sacrosanct. I have to do my twice a day practice, and this is where it goes. And that's a boundary with yourself. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's been a big part for me of like cultivating a healthier relationship between my inner parent and inner child. It's like I'm declaring these things. I'm saying you will be cared for, and this is how I'm going to do it. So there's that assurance there of those parts of me inside that might feel hurt or scared, that are like, okay, like we're going to be taken care of, we're going to be seen, and we know when this is going to happen.
That's great. Yeah. Oberon, do you have any thoughts on this one?
And it kind of sent me down some trains of thought of like, this is almost kind of like a spiritual sort of a thing for me, where like it's complicated to explain, I guess, but if you've read the book The Four Agreements, it's like based on some really old like Toltec wisdom. And one of the agreements is like, be impeccable with your word. And in the book he explains like that the word has power, and like including the word that you use with yourself, like it has the power to create or to destroy, literally change reality, you know, and like, and the words that you say to yourself in your mind or out loud, like that's included in that, you know, like it creates your inner reality. And it, like every time I think of like quantum stuff too, it also kind of like merges in with spirituality stuff. Like if the Big Bang happened and we're all some kind of like quantum waves that got created, and we're all just sort of like different versions of the same thing all at once. And like in that way, it makes sense that like observing something or bringing awareness to something does change it a little bit, you know? Like that's how quantum stuff works. Like if you observe something, suddenly it's not in these two different positions or all these potential realities. It's one reality. Like you've changed something.
You narrowed
or created
it down.
like created another multiverse or whatever, like where this is the one that you're in now, you know.
Ooh,
and like
that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, you're not even destroying anything when you narrow it down. It's just you're only
creation.
being present in that one, but the other ones are all created as well, all the other alternate versions.
And so it's like there's just like so much that my brain just like goes with that it's all kind of
I love it.
It's a big rabbit hole, a deep rabbit hole.
I love it.
Sure.
I had another thought when you guys were talking about self-care in real life. And you know, I like to play Candy Crush or whatever. It's a game like Candy Crush. It's a match game, but there's like boosters you can use. There's extra things that you can use to like select all of them at once and get them. You know, and usually I try to do for a long time I was like, oh, that's cheating. And it's like, no, it's not cheating. And it's like asking for help in real life, to say, you know, well, I could do it myself. I could struggle through and try to finish this, whatever it is, without.
I look up video game walkthroughs all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too.
Me too.
Why reinvent the wheel when someone already did it?
Yeah, someone's already done it. You don't have to struggle through it all by yourself without using all of the extra bits that are there to help you. You know, that's part of the game. That's part of life, of that we're here to help you, and you have these options of services or people you can ask, or even family and friends in your community, that people who want to help you and would love to help you if you just said, this is what I want, or
like professional cuddlers.
Exactly.
Right? We're here to help you.
We're here. Yeah. And it's not cheating to use it. It's part of the self-care. It's part of the game.
We're here to bridge the gap between The Sims and IRL. We're like that middle stuff.
Yeah. So use the power-ups. Use the special whatever magic cane that you have in your pocket that you never take out of inventory. Go ahead, use it.
So I feel like the rest of the questions on here relate to this. It's a part of the previous question before the last one we did that I didn't mention, or we didn't mention, but do you think that's possible that we're living in a simulation? And like whether we are or not, does it even matter? Like, because that's really the question I always ask in response to that first question. I'm like, well, does it matter if it's a simulation or not? Like, how would you behave differently?
I have some thoughts about that because I feel like our brain is the game that we're in.
Yeah, everyone has their own simulation.
Everyone has their own simulation, and it's created by your brain and the stimulus that goes in and out of your own brain. And yeah, I have moments where I'm like, oh, I was dizzy for a second, or like I saw the lights glitch and I'm like, oh, it's
glitch in the Matrix moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It happens, but that's the function of your brain.
You like take something into one room and then you turn around and do something else and the thing's not there anymore and it's back in the room where you swear you just took it out of. And,
yeah. And you wish you had a camera that would show you that you just,
yes.
it would show you what actually happened.
But the thing is that it's like, if it was a glitch in a matrix, it would be like, there would be some sort of programming that would like, it would be like a self-healing function basically of like, if there's a glitch, it goes back and retcons it. So it was always that way. Kind of like the Berenstain Bears or the Mandela effect.
But we have that.
Effect.
Yeah.
Mandela effect, not Mandela effect. But yeah.
But our brain does that.
Yeah.
We totally do that. Like our memory is not like a VCR that we just turn it on and it shows us. You create that every time you access that memory, it changes a little bit. And I've actually even rewritten some memories that I was like, wait a minute, that's not really what happened. Why am I remembering it like that? Our brain retcons for us.
Yeah.
And new things weird. That we learn, like we'll go back to past memories. And like that new thing that we learned, like alters the way that we perceive that thing that happened in the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you gain more information.
Something when I was a kid, I remember having this experience of being like almost asleep. And then I remember like having a dream or something where Link from Zelda like pulled out a bomb and then like threw it in the corner of the room or whatever, and it exploded. And when it exploded, I got woken up by a real life sound, like something outside my window or whatever. And I was like, how did that happen? How did I know? How did your brain know that Link was going to pull out the bomb and throw it? And I think what I've come to like understand or believe
all
is
the
like
time for me in dreams too, like with the alarm. The alarm is like in the dream somehow.
Yeah, and it's like at that very moment of being woken up, it's like your brain goes back in time almost, and it's like, okay, here's an explanation for why you just heard that thing.
Yes.
And it's like, whoa, like my brain is crazy that it can do that. Like, create like, time like all at once in your history, like in your mind.
Puts it in like after the fact, but for you, it feels like it even could be like an hour-long dream.
Right. Yeah. Or you hear people who like lived entire lifetimes like while they were under for surgery or something, and it's like they had this like super long life-changing experience and then they wake up and it's been 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's so, that's wild.
So I think we are in a matrix. It's created by our brain. It's not electronic. It's not like a technology that humans made, but we are in a organic matrix all the time. What do you guys, who has a yes or no answer? Anyone?
Well, everything that we think is a simulation, right?
What?
That's what our brains do. Everything that we think is a simulation.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like, what would happen if I do this? Oh, should I do that? I'm going to eat this for dinner. No, wait a second. I'm going to eat this. It's like, it's all simulation.
Totally.
It makes me wonder about those people. Like, this is something I was only recently made aware of. Like, there are people that they have no way to imagine anything in their mind. I can't remember the term for it. If anybody else knows what I'm talking about. But like if someone says, oh, picture an apple, picture a green apple, whatever, you don't see anything in your mind's eye. There's no mind's eye.
Yeah, I only recently found out that was something that happens for people. Like they have no mind.
Aphantasia?
But like, how does, yeah,
Yes.
aphantasia, but like, how
Thank
does
you.
their brain, how do they imagine things if they can't use visual? Like, there's got to be other ways that the brain is like simulating what would happen if I did this, like Bruce was saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
I wonder why
Fun to
these
think about.
people have this issue. Is this due to trauma, or is this like something genetic when they're born? I like the can't imagine things. I guess I'm
I
unfamiliar
imagine
with
it's like some like genetic expression that
it. Okay.
like a certain part of their brain is smaller and another part's bigger, like just the brain structure is a little different.
Yeah.
Bruce, do you know? Like you're the one that like knows about neuroscience, right? Maybe.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I actually know somebody who has that, and will be. I'm very interested by hearing how he explains what it's like, and how he interprets the world. And he can still run the simulations. He develops games, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's impossible for me to understand how he is perceiving the world, but he's totally functional. And he just says, like, I can't visualize that, and yet he's working with visualizations all the time. But when someone else has created them and puts them in front of him, but he can't imagine or think that way. And I don't know what part of the brain that is, but it's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to notice, because if you have that, then that's just the way you are, until you're talking with somebody one day and they're like, yeah, I can see it, and they're like, wait, I don't see it. So it's not like a dysfunction or anything. It's just
Well, guided
some
imagery
people
meditation must be really frustrating.
Yeah.
Imagine you're on the beach. They're like,
probably doesn't work for those people.
What do you think, Crystal? Are we on a simulation? Does it matter?
So I mean, a lot of stuff came up as you guys were talking. I really think that our perception is our reality. And the interesting part about truth is that one person's truth may not be another person's. And then there's also a second or third person involved that sees something. So, and it's so hard. I've read so many examples even recently about this, of like perceived fear, or who's right or wrong when you look at like the law and self-defense cases, and in general, people who are colorblind or again can't imagine. So their reality is entirely different from yours. When I was a child, I used to have a bubble theory that in my bubble, maybe I could fly, and maybe my physics was different in my bubble, and we could kind of connect bubbles, but it wasn't really like everyone had their own reality. And I remember getting so excited when I attended my first philosophy class in college, because it really was like connecting all these matrix theories that of course I had in my head as a child. And again, I think that it does matter. I think that I'd love to be able to say a yes or a no to the simulation question. I think that it definitely is interesting, because we are in a microcosm compared to somebody who lives, in a different culture, in a different world. And anthropology is such a big thing in my mind in that sense. Our government, our situation, and then even the people that quote unquote like are higher up in those levels and maybe make choices for when it's going to be wartime or when it's going to be non-wartime or something like that. And so I feel like we do create our own reality, so much so that yes, we're all kind of in our own simulation. But I do believe that there is a certain amount of connectivity that's important, and a certain amount of faith / like love. That sounds a little spiritual and a little hokey, but what I guess I'm trying to say is that I do think there's a lot that we can do together, even if we're all in our own little bubbles, which I kind of look at it from both angles. I know that was a lot. I can talk for days on that, by the way.
Oh yeah, could all talk for days.
Yeah.
So if we are creating our own reality here, and I think we are, what are the challenges that prevent us from making it the way we want it to be? What stops us? Let's maybe Oberon, do you want to answer first?
Well, we are all on a permadeath setting here, as far as we know. So we only get one shot if things go really bad.
You get one
I mean,
life.
most things, yeah. Like
There's
most
no-
things don't go that bad, but and it's like autosave, right? You can't go back.
Can't go
So-
back.
Maybe we don't only get one life. Maybe this is just the latest run of this life, and the
Could be.
save data gets deleted every time we start over.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's hard
We
to
would
say.
never know, right?
We don't know.
Yeah.
As far as
Maybe
our
that's why there's
consciousness
deja
is-
vu. It's like the file, the old save file, like still has a little
Mhm.
bit of there's some dregs left behind in the
I like
system
it.
of the old save file.
That happens
Definitely.
to me when I'm like, oh, I should be able to do this like really graceful dancing. I'm like, but then I try it and I'm clumsy. I'm like, well, I guess I was a dancer in a previous life.
Oh.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like one of those like spiritual tie-in things for me too, is like if we are all actually like one person but living all these different lives sort of laid on top of each other in time, you know, then it's like we have all been each other or will be each other and experience all these things.
Oh yeah, that makes me think of the video called "The Egg" by Kurzgesagt on YouTube.
The egg. Hmm.
I haven't heard of
Yeah.
that.
I haven't seen
I'll
it.
have to look that up.
That's a good one. Yeah, I recommend.
That makes me think of the concept of interbeing, which is like, I am the way I am because you are the way you are. And, you know, the water in my body is the water in the cloud. And, you know,
Yeah.
It reminds me of some of my
Yeah.
environmental engineering calculations in college. Some
Mhm.
problems we'd be given is like, assuming this level of mixing of atoms over time, how much
Yeah.
percentage of the water in your body
Mhm.
Yeah.
was what Shakespeare peed into the ocean 100 years ago or whatever. Just some random
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, I love
Don't
that.
they say like every 7 years, like every atom in your body is replaced with a completely new
Mhm.
atom or something like that?
Mhm.
It's like I'm literally not the same person that I was 7 years
Yeah.
ago, like the matter wise anyway. But yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a quote from not a quote, but one of my best friends said, what if the concept of a supreme being or a God split himself into a million pieces, and we are all just the different perceptions of that split source energy or that split God or that split universal being that is now trying to perceive it from every angle possible.
Yeah.
I certainly think that that's interesting. And to answer the question,
Yeah.
I think that the challenges are perhaps getting back to that wholeness. So fear, shame, and guilt are big problems in our ability to keep growing. But the interesting part, about Oberon and about what my best friend had quoted, again, if we were all one and we're all separated, us trying to get back and not be individuals, but be part of some sort of whole, like whether that's the nutrients in the ground or, whatever it is, that might be the biggest challenge is separateness. It's almost like we need to.
The illusion
We're
of separateness. Yeah.
Yes, we need to be magnets and give each other hugs.
Well,
Consensual
we
hugs.
need communities to survive. That is
Definitely.
our social being as a social animal. It's absolutely necessary, but then we develop these cultures that teach us we're supposed to be self-reliant and separate and don't tell anybody what's going on with us. Yeah, it doesn't serve us. It's sad. I think
Separation of heart and mind, kind
Yeah.
of like our mind rationalizes all the time, good and bad things,
Yeah, I think a big challenge is just how our cultures have developed these things that are actively detrimental to being, social communities.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the matrix that we're living in is this idea that there's something wrong with us and that there is a product out there. And if we get that specific product,
fix it. I just have to
that
buy
will
it.
fix us. It's just a matter of getting the right product. And there's this perpetual thing. I remember I was in advertising and there's a story of Listerine. And
halitosis didn't exist before.
Halitosis, bad breath did not exist until somebody came up with, they were trying to find a way to sell Listerine. And they said, they put this picture of this girl at this party and she was sitting off by herself where the popular girls were meeting people. It says like, do you have halitosis? Is that why you're unhappy? Get Listerine. So it's like, yeah, we live in this culture where something is wrong with us until we fix it.
Yeah, and it was even more insidious because it implied that like there's something wrong with you, but nobody's going to directly tell you.
Right, no one will
just
tell
get
you
this
about
just
it.
in case, so you don't have to worry about it. Rather than just asking people, hey, does my breath stink? Like that would have been the easier solution.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So
agree with
yeah,
that concept, definitely. We don't need fixed, but yeah, we've been kind of taught.
Yeah.
we live in
Yeah.
this matrix where if I only have this or if I only do this, then I will be happy, but we can be happy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
We can only ever be happy right now.
Exactly.
We can't be happy yesterday and we can't be happy tomorrow. We can only be happy today.
True that.
Because
Yeah.
today
So
is what's
true.
happening.
Yeah. And if
Mhm.
you're fixated on getting the thing to make you happy, then it's not going to work, because then you're just going to need the next thing to make you happy. That's yeah.
That's a really good point, Mary. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so we're getting towards the end here. Is there anything else over on Bruce, Crystal, that you wanted to add in closing, or some info that we can have to reach you, Bruce? I know you mentioned your Patreon earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, Bruce, why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell us how we can reach you, and if you have any closing thoughts.
You can reach me at brucecantwell.com. That's BruceCantwell.com. And that has links to my various interests, including my Patreon. There's not much about my playwright career in there currently.
Which again, your group is called I Hate Happiness, right?
I hate happiness because a lot of the books that tell you about how to be happy have nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's how to trick yourself into thinking that you're happy.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, buy this thing and you'll be happy. That's what they say.
Right.
Get this book and you'll be happy.
Exactly.
All right. Crystal, do you have anything else you want to tell us and how we can find you?
So I'm so grateful to be here, and this was honestly one of the most stimulating conversations I've had in a long time. So I'm really excited. I share so many ideas with you guys, and again, just to be able to be my nerdiness about quantum physics, psychology, and the matrix alone, and with like Cuddlers involved, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's really meaningful for me. So I really am grateful. And of course, I can't forget gaming, because no matter how much I've denied it in my past, I'm such a fan of owning that now and not shaming it.
Nice.
Again, my name's Crystal, and I do professional cuddling in Pittsburgh. I do both one-on-one and group events. However, group events are still kind of on hold. I am doing like connection work in the parks and stuff like that outdoors. You can always reach me for connection of any kind, virtually or just to talk. My number, I can't speak, is 412-368-2409. And my email is crystaltherapy.cc@gmail.com. My website is crystaltherapy.cc. And my Facebook is Crystal's Cuddle Therapy. I will be hosting a nerd break later tonight, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this community. Definitely feel free to reach out anytime. I absolutely adore everybody here, and I'm so grateful to Gita, who does so much work for us. It means a lot to me. You guys are awesome.
Yes, thank you, Gita.
Yeah,
you are
thank you, Gita.
amazing. All of you are amazing. I love you. I love all of you.
I love you.
Oh,
Good job. Thanks, Crystal. And Crystal is linked from our website too. I know. Indeed. Oberon? Thanks,
yeah.
Crystal.
I just want to echo what Crystal was saying, and like, thank you for having me on again. And it's so good to talk with everyone. This is really cool. Like, very fun conversation. It's good to see everybody. I'll be in the Facebook group. That's where I kind of see things that pop up. So yeah, if anyone wants to talk to me there, post something in there.
Yeah, great. You guys are awesome. This was a wonderful conversation. This is my favorite thing to do, is to have good conversations. I really appreciate you coming to do this.
Me too. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, good conversations of self-care too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So how do you all feel after this discussion?
We got a thumbs up.
I feel filled up with good stuff.
You're welcome to stay for our last little bit if you would like to.
Great. Okay, what else have we got, Alyssa? Do you have a nerdy thing?
We didn't do, is the nerdy thing first, or is the cuddle first? Oh, the nerdy thing is first. Okay. So I don't know if I've done this one before on the podcast. If I did, I apologize. I'm wearing my Hogwarts shirt.
Oh, you can almost see it. It keeps
Wait,
flicking
hang
you out. Oh,
on.
there we
Hang
go.
on.
I can see it right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I am a Ravenclaw Hufflepuff hybrid.
Excellent.
And that's my nerdy thing. Does anybody else have a nerdy thing?
I think my nerdy thing is kind of my little Renaissance shirt that I'm wearing because I did a little.
Got the
It's got
lacy or
laces
the
up the
sleeves.
sleeves. Yeah. Because I was reading a play right before I came to do this. So
Nice.
I was like, that's a good theater nerdy shirt.
Yeah. I got my first set of wireless earbuds recently
Nice.
to kind of avoid having
nice.
this thing on my head all the
How
time.
do you avoid losing them? Because that's my worry about getting some of those.
Yeah, so far I only use them at the computer, so they don't ever really leave. That's my
I also feel like my
hack
cats
so
would
far.
find it to be a very fun toy if it fell on the floor. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I like to get the kinds that are connected so that I don't have that problem because I did lose 2 from separate sets, of course.
Oh no.
But I've been thinking of it too, especially since I shaved my head, that like I get this, I don't know if you can see it, I get like this like
Oh, and
yeah.
line
indent
there.
in my
Oh, yeah.
hair from my headset.
From your headset. Yeah.
I didn't even notice that you had shaved your head until recently, till like halfway through the podcast. I was like, hey, everybody
Yeah, I
looks
did it on my
wonderful.
birthday, Star Wars Day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. May the 4th.
Yeah.
So bad.
So cool. Are you still loving it, Alyssa?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
still loving it.
That's awesome.
Right now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, when do I want to do it again? Like how often do I want to do it? And then I've also been thinking of like if I just want to shave like the sides and the back and like grow out the top, and then like because I've never done like, I don't know what the technique is to like keep yourself from shaving up too high. It's like protect the hair you're trying to grow out basically. So and I'm like, is it even worth it to like get into that?
So many possibilities. My brother just did his own hair with the, like a little 1/4-inch thing. And I was like, I wish I'm not brave like you.
I know, I've always wanted
to. So easy. What?
I was going to say, I always wanted to do that. So I'm definitely kudos.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome.
For me, when the first time I did it was a bucket list thing, like skydiving. Like I did that too, and that was amazing.
Nice.
I just wanted to have the experience at least once in my life. And I highly recommend anybody who like doesn't have any other extenuating circumstance of like, I need to keep my hair somehow, like try it. It'll grow back,
It'll grow back. Not a tragedy.
It took me about a year to like, maybe. If you have progressive hair loss, like that is definitely a consideration. But some people go and they lean into it. They're like, okay, I'll just shave it off. Then like my dad ended up doing that, I believe, eventually. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway.
Well, you have a cuddle for us too, don't you?
Hair reality.
Yeah, create your own hair reality. I love it. Be our leader, Alyssa, our model.
So the cuddle of the episode is it's basically an accessory, a cuddle accessory. That's how I see it, because it's not. It can be, but it usually doesn't show up on its own. It's footsie. So I like to see it as sort of like a seasoning or an accessory you like pair with the cuddle position. It can really enhance the experience, the tactile experience. I used to always cuddle with socks on, and when I cuddled with Gita, he's like, hey, can we try not having socks on? And I noticed that just felt really good. Like you get to touch things with your feet, even if it's not the other person, even just feeling the fabric that's around you. Like it totally changes the experience of it. And yeah, footsie is a great option for just adding another way for your bodies to interact, and just to be playful with each other. So I enjoy it.
I can totally relate too. Yeah, I only just started using that tool, using feet as a tool. And I always used to use socks too, but it was only within the last couple of months that I've really started incorporating it in. And it is an amazing, amazing thing with the right partner. It's an amazing thing just to feel like, again, your skin against something. Yeah. So I agree.
And I feel like the feet don't get, or at least for most people, for me, like feet don't get enough attention, like in terms of touch and like intentional touch. And so it's just that also it adds to the pleasure. It's like, ooh, I get to enjoy feeling with this part of the spot of my body that I don't normally I'm not normally mindful of like touch with that area. So.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. Every part of your body probably might want touch in some way. Of course, whatever works for you. But
Our feet get so neglected. We walk all over them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're almost as sensitive as our hands, for as far as like input, right? Stimulus. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It's very interesting.
They're
Cool.
it's sort of an out of sight, out of mind thing. I feel.
Kind of is. Yeah.
It's like that's why I don't pay attention to them. Like my hands are always right here. I always see them, and I'm always doing stuff with them. But.
Yeah, I did a
Anyway.
wonderful guided visualization on a virtual session, and then the person wanted their feet like touched. So I was just saying, okay, I'm touching my hands down the edge side of your feet, and it was really interesting to do that in a virtual session, and it was very cool. Worked really
I
well.
have a Cuddlist practitioner call with Anna Joy. If anyone listening knows her, I know I imagine like at least Crystal, you know her, but we just during part of that practitioner call, we were just giving ourselves a foot rub and just like enjoying it. So
yeah, excellent.
Giving our feet some love.
Cool. Thanks, Alyssa. Great cuddle of the episode.
Yay! Would you like to do the promos this time, Mary?
I'll do the promos this time, sure. Yeah. So you can find us on the nurturednerds.com website. And Alyssa and I have our websites are linked there, but I know I'm at Mary Cuddler and Alyssa's at, do you have your website up yet, Alyssa?
No, it exists, but I haven't added anything to it yet.
Okay, but for now, you can absolutely find us at nurturednerds.com.
Yes.
And you can find us on Reddit at Nurtured Nerds and on Facebook at Nurtured Nerds. And we are also still doing Cassandra's class, Jerk Proof Your Relationships. And we really would love to have more people join us there. I know I haven't been to it as much as I wanted to, but it's a great offering that Cassandra Brown has offered for us. CassandraBrown.org.
Yeah,
What?
I was just going to say lifetime access to the content and weekly meetings to discuss.
Coaching, for lifetime.
Yeah, I really recommend them.
Yeah, so CassandraBrown.org, Jerk Proof Your Relationships is that site. We're thinking about doing Discord server and a Twitch stream. I actually want to do a Twitch stream and just like celebrate my newbie-ness on whatever
so
game I choose.
excited about Twitch streaming.
Yes. I'm so excited.
You gonna do it too, Crystal?
Oh yeah. Again, it's gonna be hilarious.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. So you can find everything on our website, but we're also on YouTube. That's where you can find all these podcasts. So if you look up Nurture Nerds on YouTube, that's where all the podcasts are. And this is episode 10. So go back and listen to the old ones. Let's see. So we need comments, people. I saw that people are listening to our podcast, but like we've got one comment out of 500 views. And I'm like, really? Because we're awesome and you have no input, no thoughts.
Just tell us you're here, even if you don't have anything you think is
hi.
interesting to say. Just say, hey, I like it, or
I
hate it, but I'm listening anyway, or I'm a masochist, so I'm putting myself through this.
Right.
Anyway. Just saying, I'm here.
We are still doing a raffle for everybody who has signed up through May 28th to be a member of the Nurture Nurse community. Then you're automatically in the raffle, and you can win a really cool care package, which includes a free 30-minute virtual session with a professional cuddler after the regular intake screening with them. And you will get my ebook on cuddling and connection called The Art of Authenticity. And there's a free $20 Steam gift card, which you can use for video games. You'll be able to submit a question to one of our podcasts. And the winner of the raffle will have a discount on the raid, the Jerk Proof Your Relationships. Now, Cassandra is willing to work with you guys on the price, but she's offering a sliding scale. So she's great to work with, but if you win the raffle, you'll definitely have more of a discount. So that'll be awesome. So yeah, you want to win this, and the deadline is May 28th, and all you have to do is go on the website and apply to be a member of our Nurtured Nerds community, and it's free to everybody. Right now, we will be thinking about offering maybe some paid levels later, but we're not there yet. But we will always have free content for you guys. So yeah, did I do all that right?
Yeah, I was gonna go and look at our membership application responses
Oh, okay.
and see how many we got in here.
And
We only have 7 people. So
yeah,
just
so
saying, like, sign up, you might,
chances are
like,
good.
yeah, chances are good. So. Congratulations to Oberon for being the first Nurtured Nerds Care Package winner. We hope you enjoy your loot. Be sure to join the Nurtured Nerds community by filling out our membership application on our website at nurturednerds.com to enter the next care package raffle, which will happen on July 29th. And the winner will be announced on August 1st. Remember, it's always free to become a member of the Nurtured Nerds community, so you have nothing to lose and potentially lots of awesome connection to gain.
And what you get with membership is that we are doing a nerd break every week, which is a chance to come and hang out and play games and talk with folks in the nerd community, in our Nurture Nerds community. And you get all these discounts that we're offering here, and we've got our podcast, and we want you to contribute. You know, this is a community-led group. So, you know, we are only here because we asked each other to come do this with, you know, together. And we're asking you to do it with us too. So that's what we're all about.
Yes, the more the merrier.
Absolutely.
We're here to help you. And like, we have a lot of fun doing this, but like, really, it's to help all you guys out there.
Yeah.
Give you a place to come and hang out and connect and you know, build your level, you know, level yourself up, level up your self-care, level up your character in life. We're here to support that.
Well, and we want to meet you.
Both
So you
Oberon
support
and
us.
I have our cats on our desk. Here's mine.
Yeah, we've got cats in our community. Yeah. So we need, and we want to invite you because we need you as to be part of our community to support us back. That's
true.
a big deal.
That's true. The more support we have from you guys, the more this can grow and the more people we can help.
Yeah.
So,
and we just want to celebrate nerds too, because we don't do that enough.
Celebrate
right?
your nerdiness, celebrate your weirdness, celebrate yourself with us. We'll all be here being weirdos together.
Yeah.
Are we feeling nurtured?
I am.
I am.
Yes.
You guys still with us?
Thumbs up, double thumbs up from Oberon.
And
awesome.
cat approved.
Cat approved. Double cat approved. So.
Well, is it time for our hug?
Yeah, self-hug time. If you
Self-hug.
are so inclined.
If you want
give yourself the good feelings and the love that you give to another person when you hug them. You deserve it just as much.
Yep. Thanks, you guys. This was fun.
All right, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yep. Come see us next time. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right. We did it.
Yep, that's it. Wrap up.
Thanks you, everybody.
Thanks, you guys.
That was really good. I really enjoyed that.
I do.
No casualties.
Yeah.
Hello, nerds. This is Mary. I want to congratulate Oberon for winning our raffle, and our first ever raffle. He totally deserves it, and I hope he enjoys everything we put together for him. I also want to let you know that we will be doing another raffle very soon, so come and join us, and just by joining, you could win our next raffle. So talk to you later. Bye.